Hi, I'm Jessie with the Moda marketing team, and I am here to show you how to make 2 at a time half square triangles. So let's get started. If you've landed here on this video, you're probably a beginner. Don't worry, don't panic, we're gonna get this. It's a very basic beginner block for all your quilting. Let's talk about charm packs. These are packs of 42 5-inch squares. Moda is the home of the charm pack, and they come in all of our fabric lines. We've got also some solids to offer in the charm packs, and they are really great when you're wanting to make lots of half square triangles really quickly. You can also find charm packs in all of your local quilt shops and online. All right, so let's get started. The first step is to grab a couple of charm packs. I've got one printed collection here, Floribunda by Create Joy Project, and I've got one solid charm pack to go with it. So you're gonna take one of your solid pieces and one of your print pieces, and you're going to put them both together, right sides facing each other, right sides together. And then we're gonna make a mark from one corner to another corner directly across. You can use any pen for this, a pencil. This one is fabric safe, which is nice, and it is water erasing, so you just spritz it with a little bit of water and your marks come right off. So from one corner to the other, just make a line. This is the line that we're gonna use to guide us for our 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll meet you over at the machine. So we're at the machine, and I just wanted to point out a couple things. I have loaded some contrasting thread color into this machine just for the tutorial so that you can see where my seams are ending up. But you're gonna wanna pick a thread color that blends with your fabric really well because you're not gonna want your stitches to show on the outside of your quilt. As a beginner, I recommend that you pin your fabrics. And as you become more comfortable making your half square triangles, you might not feel the need to pin anymore. So I'm just gonna pin these pieces just together so that they don't shift while I'm sewing. We're gonna use the line that we drew earlier as a guide for our 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side of the line, because we're making 2 half square triangles exactly the same out of this one piece. So I'm gonna line up my 1/4 inch foot on the line, lower my foot and my needle, and I'm gonna sew one seam all the way down. You're gonna wanna take your pins out as you go, because you don't want a pin breaking and flying up into your face. Also, that's just not very good for your machine. Okay, one side, I'm just gonna turn it around, do the exact same thing on the other side. Lower my foot, lower my needle, all the way down. And this is gonna give us a perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance. Here you can see the seams on each side of my line with my 1/4 inch seam allowance. So let's head back over to the cutting mat and I'll show you the next step. All right, let's go ahead and cut our half square triangles into 2 pieces. I'm gonna use the line that I created with the pen, not your seam. You wanna cut down the middle line with your rotary cutter. And now I have 2 pieces. So I'm gonna take this over to the pressing mat, and I'm going to, there's a lot of different ways you can press, but best practice is to press to the dark side. Different projects will require different pressing methods, but I'm gonna press the dark side, and then I will come back and show you how to trim. I'm back at the cutting mat, and we're gonna talk about trimming. There are lots of different ways to trim half square triangles, but for these charm squares, we are gonna use a 4.5 inch ruler, and it has a 45-degree angle right down the middle, so it's gonna make lining up your ruler really easy. And I also brought over this 6-inch rotating cutting mat, which is really nice because then you don't have to move your work while you're cutting. It won't shift anything. It's really easy to use. So you might want to invest in one of those as well. So what we're gonna do is line up our 4.5 inch ruler right in the middle of your half square triangle using the 45-degree angle on your seam. And then I'm going to take my cutter and I'm going to trim the right side. I'm also gonna trim the top. Then I'm gonna rotate my mat. I'm gonna trim this side and the top. Now we have a perfect 4.5-inch half square triangle. If you have any other square ruler with a 45-degree angle that's larger than your half square triangle, we can work with that as well. So I'm going to show you how to trim with a larger ruler too. We're going to start with lining up our 45-degree angle as close to the edge as you can on the right and the top. A good way to double check is to make sure you have a little bit of overhang at your 4.5-inch mark on these sides as well, so that you come out with a 4.5-inch square. Now we trim the side and the top. And then I'm going to turn my mat, and I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm going to line it up on the 4.5-inch mark here and the 4.5-inch mark here, and make sure that your 45-degree angle is also still lined up with your seam. And then I'm going to trim the side and the top. And then you have a perfectly matching 4.5-inch half square triangle. Thanks for joining me. You are going to be a half square triangle expert in no time. We want to see your projects. And if you want a free project, this is the Moda Love project that I made a few years ago, and it is a free PDF download. We will link it in the description. It is made using all charm packs, half square triangles, and just squares. It's a great beginner-friendly project. Thanks again for joining us. If you have any questions, leave a comment, like, subscribe, tell all your friends, the whole 9 yards. We can't wait to see your half square triangle projects. Thanks again. Jessie out. Okay.